Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I was in the car just now listening to this Jerome, I think his name's Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve. He's doing a Q&A with the Finance Committee of the Senate, I believe, and it's pretty pitiful, but I'll go into that more in a minute. But first I wanted to show you, this is from the Crypto Utility Guy at Utility Guy 7. Another red light on the dashboard of the global economy. And he's tweeting out this article from Bloomberg. Why have markets been so alarmed over sudden withdrawals from a handful of European investment funds? I think that kind of speaks for itself about where we're going with things. The markets globally are getting a little freaked out. They should have been freaked out a long time ago, but the only reason that they've been able to maintain this is by keeping interest rates artificially low, money printing, QE, you name it, all these bullcrap government things that they've done to try to prop this up. And as we sit here and listen to this garbage out of the Fed about how, oh yeah, everything's great, and but we need to keep decrease interest rates even further probably. But I'll go into that now, and I'll show you briefly what he was talking about. But first, I wanted to go through this because in watching the Federal Reserve guy in front of the Senate, the first question, and this is important, the first question from Maxine Waters, the first question for this guy was about Libra coin, and that is good for you and I because that's the kind of exposure digital assets are about to get. But I wanted to show this from Sergeant Obi-Wan. Okay, so Facebook, the Libra coin, is going before Congress next week. The CEO of Libra has stated it is going to be a stable coin. This means it will only be good in the Facebook ecosystem, so you will be able to use it for ads, Facebook Marketplace games, and send between users. If they want to use the other currencies or send to different countries, they will need a bridge currency. I really don't think Congress really understands how digital assets work. I mean, the coin has not even been created yet. It's going to be just like the JPM coin. Everyone is freaking out because it's Facebook. Just in my opinion, Libra will never be a global currency. It's going to be even dollars at that. Anyway, he says, we shall see, I believe next week will be a fishing expedition, ... Well, he makes a couple of good points here. The first is that that Libra coin, I've told you before, it's a stable coin. It's not going to compete with XRP or any digital assets that have potential to appreciate in value because it's a stable coin. Defeats the entire purpose of crypto, which is in that it's tied to fiat. And if it's tied to fiat, there's a reason that Bitcoin and all these digital assets over the last few years have drastically risen in price. And it's because they're not tied to fiat. They are the anti-fiat, and that is important. But there's something else he says in here that I think is very important as well. He says, I really don't think Congress really understands how digital assets work. I'll go a step further. It dumbfounds me every time I listen to them. These people that run the Finance Committee for the United States, I mean, they're literally running the financial system of the United States. Half of these people could not even find their butt in a dark room. These people, many of them are imbeciles. I'm not saying all, but many of them literally probably couldn't balance a checkbook. It is embarrassing to listen to it. But I'm going to move forward from here, okay? All right. This is about the chairman, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. And basically, I was listening to a little bit of this, and he said that one guy asked him, what do you look at? And it's hilarious to watch if you really have been paying attention for the last 10 years, because he was asked a question, well, what kind of metrics do you look at when you're deciding whether we're going to need to do an interest rate cut? And the fact of and his response to that, well, we have our meeting and we look at various data points and all of this. Well, the bottom line is that is all bull. It's all bunk. And he knows it. I know it. You know it. And everybody up there knows it. Our country is in a joke place right now. If it wasn't so scary, it would be a joke. But there's only one data point that matters. And I've talked about the data point for a long time on this channel. And it is this data point, the U.S. national debt. And go figure, it has done nothing but fly up in the last 10 years. And the dirty little secret is they can talk all they want about their meetings and all of and their intellectual lingo and everything. But the bottom line is the U.S. and the world is in a box. They cannot raise interest rates every time they have tried. Every time they've tried, the stock market starts to bleed and bleed profusely. They can't raise. We are in a corner. The world is in a debt corner, and there's no way out. Or maybe there is. But if there is one, it's digital assets. I don't know how, but I know that this is a disaster. This disaster is going to create a new group of not just poor, but this is going to, as I said about Bitcoin the other day, you're going to have middle class people that are drop kicked into a new class of poor because of this. These people should be ashamed of themselves. I can't believe that these people can get up there with a straight face and talk about a strong economy when they know that they know that they're in an interest rate box. If they try to raise them, it will be a disaster for everything financially except for really two: gold, precious metals, and digital assets. And digital assets are the one. So anyway, just to listen to him talk about how, oh yeah, they're going to have a meeting and they can just make all these decisions and they've got all this freedom because things are so great. It's embarrassing. They're in the worst position. This is the worst position that the United States and the world has been in financially in the history of the world. It's never been done. These type of debts have never, in fact, the U.S. debt is probably more than any country in the history of the world. And they can't raise interest rates. And that's what they can't say. Okay, from Brian Melancholy XRP at MikeHoncho_11, I got this. And this, now you want to hear some truth. Now, a lot of people in digital assets are at odds with Peter Schiff occasionally, but the fact is, about the economy, he's 1,000% right. Now, the only thing I think he's wrong about is thinking that Bitcoin and digital assets will not benefit. I think he's going to change his tune on that. Maybe we'll help him. But he tweeted this out: markets poised to crumble like a sand pile. Gold could hit $2,000. Okay, now this is a guy who, Peter Schiff, that tweet is to an article on Peter Schiff's website. This is from David Roche, who heads up the London-based independent strategy, during an interview on CNBC's Squawk Box. I wanted to read you a few of his quotes. Now, this is truth here, folks. I actually believe financial markets are now poised to crumble like a sand pile. It seems to be operating on the basis of anticipating bad that might happen to the economy. But I think the markets are so drugged now on low interest rates and easy money that any disappointment on cutting rates immediately results in equities going down. You can't really afford to increase interest rates because the whole sand pile will topple over and come tumbling down. But the markets won't wait for later in the year. The markets will immediately come down. So it's very, very risky out there at the moment. The Fed's pain threshold from Yellen to Powell has come down by about a meter. Boom, like that. Now they can't bear any pain. Not before it happens in the data, but when they think that it might happen in the data because something in the financial markets is telling them, possibly an inverted yield curve might possibly be telling them that down the road the U.S. economy will weaken. Now that's a lot of ifs, but if the Fed reacts to it, so they'll cut interest rates. I'm pretty convinced of that. And so bottom line is, he's saying here, they're in a box and everybody knows it. And it's really just a matter of when this sand pile collapses, because it's going to collapse. And I'm just glad that I'm in XRP awaiting the collapse, because when it happens, you are going to see destruction. In fact, I told my neighbor yesterday that part of my theory on all of this is that when it all goes off, I believe that we that saw the digital assets for what they were, I believe that it's going to be a very lonely place being the kind of wealthy that we will be. I believe that many of your friends and family members, many of them that laughed at you and continue to laugh to this day, I believe that they will be in a new class of poor. That I believe that a large percentage of the middle class will disappear and become poor, and maybe even poorer than any of them ever even imagined when this happens. Michael Arrington, early this year, some people were predicting Bitcoin dominance would hit 70% again. Those people don't look as crazy as they used to, because he's talking about Bitcoin's dominance going up. Then C3 Nick came in and he says, so when the herd is running in one direction towards Bitcoin, where do the people go who make the most money in the next phase? That is the right question to ask. Opinion, no advice. C3 Nick is exactly right. Don't look to Bitcoin right now. Look away. Look to the greatest digital asset ever created. That's what I'm doing. Sean Michaels, @Michaels_Mr. Sent this one to me. And this is interesting right here, and I'll finish here. He says, this is from Crypto Ninja Warrior. Now, all of us know we've anticipated that SBI Virtual Currencies is opening in July. That's what's supposed to happen. This was some kind of letter that went out from SBI Securities. SBI Securities is SBI Holdings' brokerage wing for stocks and things like that. And they announced that SBI Securities, to announce minimum transaction fee free eliminated of U.S. stocks substantially reduced from $5 to the industry lowest free. So their transaction fees are going from $5 to free. And I guess the idea or the theory here is that this somehow involves XRP or whatever. Who knows? I just thought it was interesting enough to show you. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button. And tell your friends and family that SBI Virtual Currencies is supposed to go live this month. And it could be a game changer. Thank you for listening.